Well, thank you guys and welcome. We appreciate everybody coming out today. My name is Laura Lottmore. I am the chair of the Military Outreach Committee for the Columbia Chamber, and it's my pleasure to be with you guys today and to get an opportunity to hear from all of our leaders of all of the great things that are happening. For those of you who joined us last week for the breakfast, introducing and honoring General Hood, we appreciate you coming out. It was a great time, a great message, and looking forward to all that he is going to bring and move us into our next phase. So again, just wanted to say welcome to everyone. I'm going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance first, and then we'll hear a message from our sponsor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So in other phases of my life, I get the opportunity to work for Lexington Medical Center. So, and we have the privilege and honor of being a sponsor for a lot of our military events. So I want to call up Thomas Taffel, my colleague, to just say a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. Back-to-back Lexington Medical Center. Sorry about that. So what an honor it is to be the lead sponsor for this military affairs group for the Columbia Chamber. And what a fitting month for us to do it in, where we honor and celebrate veterans during Veterans Day and Veterans Week. And we're just so grateful to be the sponsor for this group for the Columbia Chamber. We have a strong commitment to our veterans in this area. We employ a good bit of veterans throughout our organization and throughout our leadership. I think it's a testament to who we are, and we're honored to just be able to do that for our community. So I always say our mission is to provide quality health services that meet the needs of our communities, and one of our biggest communities that we get to support are our veterans and our military members. So thank y'all for everything that you do. We are just glad to be a part of it, and glad to be here with the Columbia Chamber. Thanks.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for sponsoring. Never apologize for being back-to-back. Lexington Medical has our backs always, and we appreciate that, so thank you very much for being here. I'm Susan McPherson with the Columbia Chamber, and I am delighted to see each and every one of you here. Thank you for what you do. To all of our veterans, we salute you last week and every day of the week and the year, so thank you for your contributions. I'd like to call on Nancy Smith now from the South Carolina State. Nancy is also a great partner and makes this room available for us on a quarterly basis, and did an awesome job during the state fair recognizing our military families. Thank you, Nancy.
So Lexington Medical Center, you thought you were just back to back, but 3 times, because y'all are one of our big sponsors as well. So thank you, in case you saw the Be Well rocket when you came in. So we appreciate that. Yes, we're always excited to host you folks. Can't think of anyone we would rather host. Thank you to everyone who came out for the fair. We did do a little bit more statistical recording this year, and we found out that we had over 8,000 of our military folks and their families that came in and enjoyed their South Carolina State Fair. We are happy to do that, and we are looking forward to that and much more next year, and much more involvement. And because of your support, just always want to make sure you folks know not only that you're very welcome here and that we are honored to be a part of it, but for those of you who may have graduating seniors that will be attending an in-state school or university, look on our website at scstatefair.org in February, because we give away this year over $500,000 in scholarships to graduating seniors that attend an in-state school or university, and we would welcome you folks to be a part of that. Also, we know this year was not as pleasant for some of us as others who had some devastating effects from Hurricane Helene, but thank you again to your support. Your South Carolina State Fair was able to give back over $200,000 to those who are in need. So that's what we are. We're a partnership. Thank you for being here. We're looking forward to even bigger and better things next year. And thank you very much.
Nancy has an amazing team that takes care of setting up this room, and they'll send me a note and they said, the room is set for you. And I'm like, no, the room is amazing, because it takes a lot of work behind the scenes to get this going. So we do appreciate everything that you do for us. As y'all all know, with the elections, there is a lot of change coming about in Washington, and a lot of that's going to impact our military folks. We partner with Suzanne Cassie from Cassie and Associates, and she is going to give us a report, not in depth on everything, but she's just going to catch up to date on what is going on in Washington, some of the changes that are in place. She won't interpret what those changes mean, even though we wish she did have a crystal ball to be able to tell us that. But we work with Cassie very closely to make sure that when we're working with our congressional delegation, that we are able to provide the funding support, the manpower support, whatever our military needs locally. We go to work in Washington to make sure that all of our folks are helping us. And we've done some amazing work the last few years, and we are going to continue that for the next few years. So if I could ask the guys, our sound and images technicians and awesome partners to please roll the tape, that would be great.
Good morning again from Washington. I guess it's afternoon there. I wanted to jump on for a few minutes and provide you guys with an update of where things are in Washington post-election. As you can imagine, it's been a whirlwind of the last 13 days. And so a lot of things are still falling into place. But so instead of talking through the politics of it, I want to give you a level set on where things stand as it comes to legislation as of today, with the full caveat it could change tomorrow. And I also look forward to hearing from our delegation if they have any more updated or additional information. So where are we right now? We are entering the lame duck period, which is is the period that between Election Day and Inauguration Day when there's a change in power in either Chamber of Commerce or the White House. As you know, there is a change in the White House, a change in the Senate is flipping from Democratic control to Republican control. And Republicans have maintained a small or even possibly smaller lead in the House with some races still uncalled in California. I do have a PowerPoint on this that Susan should have available. If not right now, she will send it out after the after this event. So what are the must-do pieces of legislation in the lame duck period? Of highest priority, and I'm sure of utmost concern to most people in this room, we still have not completed the Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2025, and we have not completed the fiscal year 2025 budget. We're currently under a continuing resolution that expires on December 20th, and the NDAA also expires on December 20th. It's included in that same CR. Other pieces of legislation that may or may not get done, the Farm Bill, if I were a betting man today, I think we'll push that one into the new Congress. And then the debt limit ceiling is suspended till January 2nd of next year, but some pundits, individuals seem to think that might get tied up in a year-end package to clear the deck for next Congress. There is still a bunch of other things that could happen: energy permitting reform, WIOA, online safety, but those don't necessarily pertain to what we keep us up at night in this group every day. If I had to guess what's going to happen, my guess today might be different than my guess tomorrow. Speaker Johnson was on the news shows this weekend saying he really would prefer that Congress push a continuing resolution into the new year. Senator Schumer, who is currently majority leader in the Senate, has shown no interest in doing that. It would certainly be helpful for a new Congress and administration to have a debt cleared so they can focus on prioritizing going forward. But as you can imagine, the politics of that are really difficult right now. And I think a lot of people are sitting back and waiting to see how, if and how President-elect Trump weighs in on how he prefers the omnibus and or continuing resolution process happen. So we will provide more insight as that proceeds, but right now I'm not exactly sure what will happen. Today's decision is different than tomorrow's, and so if our members have any other insight or have any cards to show, I'd love to hear it. The only other thing that I think that people are probably thinking about as President Trump's transition is starting to talk, he did last week unveil a slate of national security nominations primarily, including Pete Hegseth for Department of Defense, Michael Waltz for National Security Advisor, Governor Christine Noem from South Dakota as Secretary of Homeland Security, John Radcliffe, the former congressman, as CIA Director, former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard as DNI Director of National Intelligence, Senator Rubio from Florida as Secretary of State, Congressman Matt Gaetz from Florida as Attorney General, for Ambassador to the UN, Elise Stefanik, and for VA Secretary Doug Collins. There are a couple other appointments that we've included on a handout for you with some brief bios of those folks, with a reminder that all these people, or the majority of them, not the special envoy, do need to be confirmed by the Senate. Right now we're in the process where they're clearly going to be going through vetting. They're going to meet with members of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Judiciary Committee, etc., before their nomination processes will happen in the spring. There has been some talk about recess appointments, but I think if I had to guess right now, that's just political chatter. So that's what's going on in Washington. Just a brief thumbnail. We will be flexible with what happens. I will say one good news story that we've had the ability to work with as a community the last few years is the tool of congressionally directed spending. We've had great success, particularly thanks to Senator Graham, Congressman Clyburn, and others who use that tool to plus up military construction and or economic development at and around our military bases in the state. When the House Republican caucus organized last week, there were a couple amendments on the table to eliminate congressionally directed spending / earmarks for the rules for next Congress. Those did fail, so we'll continue to have that tool at our disposal and continue to use it judiciously as we plan towards the future. It's great to see you guys.
We did have copies of her presentation out in the foyer, and then I'll also be sending it out with our emails, follow-up emails. So thank you for that. And to our congressional leaders, I don't think she stole all your thunder this time. So I'm going to let William, if you will, come up, and then we're going to be followed by Brianna, and then we have Hillary and Alex. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Chaplain Boone, I feel better knowing you're here, my friend. Pray for us. Okay, greetings from Senator Graham. Got a couple things put out for you. They're still waiting on the NDAA. There's a conference report may drop before Thanksgiving and passage by December. Appropriations is still on hold, but there's about a 4,000% chance for a CR until after the first of the year sometime. The VA has been without a director for a while. We have interim directors, and all of the interim directors have done a really good job for us, and we appreciate them very much. But it would be great if we had some kind of clarification on what the actual director or who that is going to be. And Senator Graham, as well as other congressionals, have submitted letters to the Secretary of the VA asking them to please, let's make a decision on that, because those things trickle down to the staff, and the staff, it trickles down to the veterans, and it's not fair to anybody. And we need to make sure we get that taken care of so that our veterans are getting taken care of the way they deserve. The Senate will hold committee selections near the start of the new Congress around January 3rd, and hopefully Senator Graham is either going to be budgeting or appropriations chairman, which will be a good thing for us. Other than that, after we're done, I'll be around here for a while and answer any questions you got. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I bring greetings from Senator Scott, and I've got to say, I really needed this flow chart last week. That would have been really nice, just a visual for everything. But just a couple of things. I'll touch on what William just said. The senator also sent a private letter over to the Secretary of VA in regards to Dorn. As well. That's something that we've been monitoring. A few other things. In October, our staff met with representatives from the South Carolina Department of Veteran Affairs to discuss the Translating Military Skills into Civilian Jobs Act of 2024. So we're looking for other potential co-sponsor opportunities on that. The senator, just a future priority, the Veterans Workforce Act, which is essentially the primary objective, is to address veterans' employment needs as they enter or continue their career from within the federal workforce. So we look to have support from the American Legion, the DAV, and the VFW. So just a couple, the senator also joined Senator Ernst and other GOP colleagues in introducing a resolution recognizing the anniversary of October 7th. Also, our team up in DC is monitoring the NDAA very closely. I have some MilCon funding and list outs of those if anybody wants to chat afterwards. I don't want to take up everyone's time, but thank you so much.
One of the great things about going after them is everything has been thoroughly covered. The big thing going on in our office right now in D.C. is Congressman Wilson is running for chairman of House Foreign Affairs Committee. It's somewhat of a tight race, but we're hopeful. We should know in a few weeks if he gets that. Going into the next Congress, one of our big priorities is going to be rebuilding the defense industrial base. I think our support of Ukraine has shown there are some cracks and weaknesses and gaps there that we'd like to fill. So we're working with private industry to move forward on that. We have some legislation that we're supporting, didn't pass this Congress. A lot of you are probably familiar with the Major Richard Starr Act. Another one, the Guard VA Benefits Act. It's not VA benefits for the Guard. It is legislation to stop predatory organizations that charge veterans in perpetuity for helping them get a VA benefit. So that will be very good for our veterans. Like them, I'll be around afterwards if I can answer any questions. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I come from Congressman Clyburn's office. One update that I have regarding the bill that I mentioned the last time, the VA Housing Loan Forever Act, which allows veterans who served from World War II through the Korean War to use the housing benefits, or they can pass it along to their descendants. Upon introduction of that act, the National Congress of American Indians and Black Veterans Project endorsed it, and since the hearing on June 12th, with the House Veteran Affairs Economic Opportunity Subcommittee, several other veteran service organizations have endorsed it as well. The Air Force Sergeants Association, Veterans of Foreign Wars, National Association of Realtors, and the American Legion. As well, the Deputy Secretary of Veteran Affairs, Tanya Brashear, visited South Carolina from October 9th through the 10th, and I had the pleasure to attend her visit for the 9th at the Fort Jackson National Cemetery, as well as the Durham VA Hospital. During that time at the hospital, I sat in on some executive sessions, leadership briefings, staff clutches, and the local union meeting. So I've been working closely with all of those groups to see if we can't pinpoint some of the issues that they're having and see how we can help to rectify them. And I will also be here if anyone has any questions after.
Thank you all for being here today, and thank you for all the work that you do. They do a great job of coordinating between Columbia and Washington, and we appreciate that. Before I switch gears to our military, I do want to take just a minute to welcome. We have Karen Jenkins, our former chairman of the board for the Columbia Chamber. Thank you, Karen, for being with us. We also have Brian Taylor over there. He's our former Military Outreach Committee chair. Still works very closely with our Leadership Columbia Group in Military Affairs. And also we have Phil Hamby from the South Carolina State Department, Military Department. So thank you all for being here. And now, boy, the military has really, you think they're busy and they're rolling along every day. They have been so busy the last couple of weeks with everything going on with Veterans Day and all of the programs that are going on throughout the community. Today, I know Colonel Hutton has been at the Fort Jackson Job Fair. He's here with us today, and then he's going to leave here and go out, and he's hosting about 100 and something folks for Come Meet Your Army Nick at Night. So, Colonel Hutton, come tell us all the rest of the things about your job. Thank you. Appreciate you being here.
So last time I was here, this time of year for the military, we start to roll up some numbers. So some good news stories that you've heard me talk about for a while. So the Army made its recruiting mission this year. 30% of those individuals actually went through the Future Soldier Prep Course, which was started here at Fort Jackson, with a total of about 23,000 soldiers that graduated either track of the Future Soldier Prep Course. So we're pretty proud of that. And right now, as Susan said, it's been a busy couple of weeks with the Columbia's Veterans Day Parade. Appreciate everybody's support in this welcoming General Hood at his welcome breakfast. This weekend, we'll be supporting University of South Carolina as their Salute to Military game on Saturday, so come on out if you're there. Next week, of course, is Thanksgiving, and so right now we'll have about 14,000 soldiers that we're serving Thanksgiving to on the 27th and 28th. And then on the 6th of December, that's a Friday evening, we'll do our holiday tree lighting on the installation, and that'll be an open event. So if you want to come out and participate, please do. And then on the 20th of December, the 282nd Band will do their holiday concert. I know many of you like to go to that, and that'll be at the Koger Center. Look for the flyers coming out on the timing of that, but that'll be on Friday the 20th. And right before that, the 18th and 19th, we'll ship about 8,000 soldiers home for the holidays. So if you're in the Charlotte airport or the Columbia airport or at the bus station, just know it's going to be really busy on the 18th and 19th of December. And you'll probably see all of us there too. So with that, I'll be here afterwards. I also got the Garrison Command team, Colonel Hickman and Sergeant Major Catula. So if you got any questions for Fort Jackson, don't be afraid to hit us up. So thank you.
And that's in addition to training 56,000 soldiers every year. So we appreciate all the hard work. When he's talking about all the activities that are coming up, I do hope that you will all take a look. I'll share the dates too so that you can make plans to attend and come out and support them. If you were at the Veterans Day Parade, you saw all of our hundreds of soldiers going down the street. Children love it. It's a great opportunity for us to say thank you to our military, but also it's a great recruiting tool too. So thank you, sir. We're going to help you out on meeting those numbers, I hope. But I do appreciate that. When we're sending out all of our troops for the holidays, remember that we always entertain probably 200-300 here in Columbia, and we are very appreciative of the Fireflies and the Riverbank Zoo and Saluda Shoals and all the different groups that help us host our soldiers who are not able to go home. And last year we've had a couple of our soldiers said, you know, when my friends get back and they see how much fun we have, they won't go home again. So they love it. And that's because we're very military friendly. So I appreciate that. It's now my pleasure to introduce somebody who needs no introduction. Our favorite Dollar General, as y'all all know. He celebrated his birthday last week. Can you imagine him and a twin? Yeah. So General McCarty was not able to be with us today, but he was our Grand Marshal last week, and so you'll see some of the slides where he and General Jones were actually riding on the tank down Sumter Street. It was quite awesome. So we loved it. So thank you, sir, for what you do. Happy birthday, and look forward to hearing your
Thanks
report.
so much. You know, life's all about timing, and I got off the phone with my wife at noon, and she's making plane reservations for 2 tickets to Maine on 18 December. So we may be driving now. But hey, listen, on behalf of General McCarty and the entire South Carolina Military Department, Trips here is going to give a great report on what our awesome Air Guard is doing. But not only that, but our Emergency Management Division and our South Carolina State Guard. It's an honor to represent him. If I could just call an audible and just offer 2 thanks. Do you have anybody here from the State Fair? Is anybody in here? Okay. Well, where is she? Thank you for what you do to support families, to giving us a discount, and you always cater to military families to make that a special day for us at what is the best state fair in the country. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for giving my kids the opportunity to eat any edible substance fried. I appreciate that. And then I want to echo, I think on behalf of our entire team here, to Susan and to the City of Columbia for what is the best Veterans Day parade in the country. And I'll tell you, to be a part of it, to watch this, first of all, to see the young people, right? So many JRTC units, and to be reminded, folks, our country is in good hands. But to me, it was an emotional moment to ride along and see veterans wearing their colors, laughing, standing up, saluting, sharing stories with each other, and yes, even crying. And to me, that's what's so important, because you see, not only does it give us an opportunity to recognize their service, but it engages them, it inspires them. An engaged, inspired veteran like Barry Jones here, he's going to reach out and tell his story. An engaged, inspired veteran like David Gale and Freddie Paisley back here, they're going to tell the people in the community, and they're going to tell city and county leaders why military service is so important, right? And then finally, to all the other veterans like in here, they're going to tell their story to young people. They're going to be our recruiters. They're going to talk about how military service changed their lives. So I submit that the Veterans Day Parade in Columbia is a national security event for what it does, because it makes America strong by empowering and engaging and using our veterans. Let's thank them for everything they do. I asked Kevin, I said, what was your favorite? Yeah, remember I asked you, play along with me, what was your favorite exhibit, right? And he said, I like the rabbits. And I said, what do you mean? He said, go back and see the rabbits at the end of the parade. And so I went to the back and I saw, did you see the 100 rabbits that were side by side? And there was a drill sergeant right there. And I said, what is this? And he looked at the rabbits and he called them to attention. And they got it. And he ordered them, he said, to the rear march. And Kevin, you saw it, they started hopping backwards. You remember that? And I said, what's this exhibit called? And he said, that's a receding hairline. Get it? You're ordered to laugh. Everybody in uniform, you're ordered to laugh. So, hey, so real quick, that's funny. I don't care who you are, right? So real quick, the three things that we do along with our partners at Fort Jackson, the Army Reserve, and our Air Guard, right? The first thing we do is that we provide deployable combat-ready soldiers and airmen. On the Army Guard side, I'll tell you, this time last year, we had 1,000 soldiers and also a wing's worth of airmen deployed in 5 continents around the world. And as of today, we're down to 803 that are in 2 continents and home. It includes the Eastern Defense Initiative in Poland right now. We have a unit that is coming back from Kosovo, and then we have 2 on the southwest border, 2 companies that is, and then we have our air defense, which that's the continuous mission for air defense that they support in the national capital region. 18 units are scheduled for some type of CTC or training exercise, which that's a combat training center deployment. That's where we get to what we do and train hard for that. We've got that in the next year. We are prepared to provide over 200 soldiers to the national capital region to support the inauguration. And I'm going to let Tripp talk about the great things that the Air Guard is doing, but they've gotten back from XAB and they're demonstrating every day why they're the best Air Guard wing in the nation. And we're so proud, along with our partners in the Army and Army Reserve, to say that we met recruiting mission this year. We actually achieved 117% of mission. I think getting out into the units, into the schools, being able to re-engage after COVID and showing what we do, we've inspired some great young people. And they can tell you better than us that they see it every day, the great young people that are coming in. And yes, that Future Soldier Prep course makes the difference for the South Carolina National Guard. So thanks for what you do there. The second thing, take a breath here, that we did in the last quarter, what we do that was really important is providing that defense support to civil authorities. I sat here at the last meeting and I said my spidey sense is tingling that this is going to be a late season year for hurricanes, and boy, was I right. Take a note. I was right on that. Started with Hurricane Debbie. While we didn't do much here in the state, we provided a transportation company to Florida where we assisted that great state there. And then, of course, came Hurricane Helene. Over 1,200 soldiers, airmen, and state guardsmen, along with our EMD who brought their best. Just some numbers there, 4,300 hours of chainsaw missions, 2,500 debris clearance miles, over 1,200 miles of road clearance and traffic control points. And then we also sent a company back to Florida for transportation support. And out of the Donaldson Center in Greenville, we conducted stage air operations into North Carolina. The lesson learned from the event is that this storm, as you know, went in a direction that we haven't seen in a long, long time. Hit counties that have never hit before. I think we'll come out of it better. I think we'll come out of it more ready than we've ever been. And then flood support just as late as last week in Orangeburg County, and we continue to support them. So I am proud of what we do. I'm proud that we're always ready. We're always there. The third thing we do, which brings, I think, a lot of us together, is the partnerships in adding value to our community. And we don't do a bit of it without Fort Jackson. We don't do a bit of it without the Army Reserve. We don't do a bit of it without the USO. And they've opened up a new Center for Soldiers or they renovated it out at McCready. Thank you so much for this, right? That employer support function of employer support of the Guard and Reserve is just so important. So again, all those partnerships are just critical for us. Just a couple things that we're engaged with right now as we begin the new fiscal year. primarily a lot of yellow ribbon events for our deploying and redeploying soldiers. I know that the Army Reserve is heavily engaged in that. Also, you mentioned the importance of veterans employment. We are very proud, and Lisa Montgomery, she's here. She was the driving force behind our partnering with SCDO, where we just had a job fair last week, right? And I think it was about 87 employers that were there. And she's one that how long have you been doing employment support? A long time. Let's just go with that. But y'all, she and Freddie, they get after it each and every day, and we're so proud and thankful for what you do for us. Our funeral honors, just to let you know, we augment Fort Jackson on everything we do. We think it's important to be a teammate with them. Just last month, we did 198 funerals. Civil math, that's 6.3 funerals a day, with 29 of them that are full honors. We augment their ID services, ID card. We made 1,079 ID cards. You're available to go. Veterans or families and active duty are available in addition to Fort Jackson to go to five points in South Carolina, where we do about an average of 34 a day. We engaged last month in 989 survivor outreach events. And isn't that a sacred responsibility that we have? And this time of year, that survivor outreach is so critical. We all need to engage in that, particularly with our Gold Star mothers. So the upcoming events, we're excited to take place this weekend in 2 military appreciations days, both in the upstate and here in Columbia. We'll be at the tree lighting ceremony for December. Up to 8 Wreath Across America events that we'll be a part of. And thanks to Fort Jackson for what they do here at the Fort Jackson National Cemetery. Holiday wishes, we'll be there. We're engaged with Leadership Columbia, Leadership South Carolina, and put it down on the calendar. I will be in the Swansea Christmas Parade. Please go online. The spots are going fast. So make sure you get there. And so if you see there, I will be ready to throw you candy. So I'm sorry for some, but there's a lot happened in this last quarter, right? And we're just proud to be a part of the team here. There's no better team than Team Columbia when it comes to sport. Thank you so much.
And is there a greater spokesperson for our great American defense community? Thank you so much, General Jones. Thank you all for what you do. He could go through this whole room and say something nice about what you have done to support our military, so we appreciate that. And it now gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our newest member of the local command team, and that would be Major General Patricia Wallace. She is here with the 81st Readiness Reserve, and for y'all that know General Harder, she has replaced him. And if you're a Carolina fan, she's the one that brought that really fun Texas A&M victory. So, General Harder, come tell us about yourself.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Well, Major General Jones, it's just hard coming after you. So I'm going to ditto everything that he said, right? So we, too, in the Army Reserves are doing many, many great things and are very excited about the partnership that we have in Columbia, South Carolina. Again, I'm Major General Trish Wallace. I'm new to Columbia, and I can honestly say I have never in my 35 years of service been in a community that's more supportive of our veterans and their families. And as an Army Reserve General Officer, every 2 years I change positions in a different state. So I am in a position to really tell you that I have never, ever seen a more supportive community. And so for that, I want to thank you for not only what you do for your soldiers and families, but for welcoming me and myself, my husband Jonathan, to the community. So as you said, I have some big shoes to fill. I am replacing now Lieutenant General Harder, who is now the Chief of the Army Reserve and Commanding General of the Army Reserve. So anything I do, he's going to know about it because he had this job before, right? So I'm not going to be able to give any smoke and mirrors here. But in addition to that, he knows what we do. He knows how important the community is and all the things that you do, so I definitely have some support there. For the individuals here in the audience that don't know, at the 81st RD, how do I say it? We provide sustainment, equipment, and facility maintenance and programs. And I want to highlight that program because we don't talk about that often. So we cover 8 states to include Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, but all the family programs, the EO, the IG, some of the things that you guys do, we provide for our soldiers and families over 9 states. So we have a large civilian workforce in each of those states providing continual support to our soldiers and families. We too have units on the southwest border. As a matter of fact, yesterday I came back from that mission, and those soldiers out there, National Guard and Reserves, are doing a phenomenal job supporting our country and our priorities out there. And we have several units out supporting exercises as well. Because in addition to the facilities and the equipment and the family programs, we do have units that are attached to the 81st Readiness Division here in South Carolina. I wanted to highlight again that as an Army Reservist, we are twice the citizen. So our soldiers, in addition to serving their country, whether it be once a month, that whole commercial, once a month, twice, 2 weeks in the summer, I just want everybody to know that is no longer true, and it has not been for some time. So I want to thank you, employers in the audience, for all you do for our soldiers, because when we know that when they're with us, they're away from you, and vice versa. But I'm hoping that you're taking advantage of their leadership skills and the discipline that they bring to the table from being members of the greatest unit and the greatest army in the Army Reserves. What have we been doing lately? So, of course, we've been supporting the storm. Unfortunately, we had those 2 storms back to back. We didn't have much issues with our facilities, although there were a few buildings I wish the storm would have taken out, and then I could have done something differently with those funding. So we survived pretty well there. We had some flooding. We've been providing a lot of support from equipment, high water equipment and moving debris. We didn't have any fatalities, thank God, but we had over 200 requests for support, whether it be for loans, temporary housing, evacuation, things of that nature. So we've gotten through most of those. We just have a handful left to cover. But it was such a blessing and honor to be able to provide those support for the soldiers and their families as they went through that. Going forward, as you know, with the new leadership, not only from on the federal end, but also from our Army Reserve leadership, we're looking at what we do, how well we do it, the resources that we have to do it, so that we can have a good look at ourselves. So as we have new leadership come in with new requirements, we'll be able to respond quickly and in a manner that is representative of all the great work and skills that we have in the Army Reserves. So with that, I'd say I'm happy to be here, and thank you for the warm welcome, and thank you for all you do.
And I will tell you, when we went out for a change of command and everybody's being all Southern and nice and hospitality and hugs, and she's like, I'm not used to this. But you can tell by that big smile, she fits in just great, and we're glad to have you. Thank you so much. And speaking of glad to have, we're glad to have Colonel Bose. If you want to come up and tell us a little bit about what the mighty F-116s have been doing, we'd love to hear from you.
All right, thanks. Hey, good afternoon. I'm Colonel Trip Bose, 169th Fighter Wing Commander at McIntyre. I just want to say thanks to all the employers of your employees who work at the Air National Guard. So we value their time, and I know you do as well, and we often ask a lot out of them. So I'm going to tell you all the things that they've been doing to make you know that it's worth your time and theirs. We started off with the Honorable Frank Kendall, the Secretary of the Air Force, came and visited McIntyre. He came to thank us personally for the efforts that we did at the XAB, which is the Expeditionary Air Base Wing. That was where we took 200 McIntyre officers and enlisted troops, sent them over to the Middle East, and then they became the in-place leadership for a major operating base in the Middle East for 6 months. They hit the ground, and 2 days later is when the conflict in Israel erupted. So they literally hit the ground and became under fire, if you want to look at it that way. They did a phenomenal job, and he basically came by to say thank you for your leadership as a guardian at stepping up to do that, because you're leading the active duty force in combat. So that's a fairly unheard of accomplishment for those guys. Shortly after that, Congressman Wilson's office stopped by the base for his annual bus tour visit, and we gave them a brief on everything we have been doing, and we enjoyed that. And then the end of the fiscal year came up. So that's where we have to balance all the books and make sure everything is good for that fiscal year. Locally on the base, we accounted for over $100 million in local expenditures, with most of that money going right back into the local economy. Right after that, we started in October with a Headquarters Air Combat Command, who is our parent command, giving us a combined readiness and combat readiness and foundational readiness inspection. Those are two separate events that they put together and gave us about 4 weeks of notice before they did so. So we ran very hard to get ready for that. This is where the non-standard stuff occurs. So sometimes we'll take our 1 week in a month, we'll take 2 months, we'll combine them into 4 days, and we call that a super drill. That usually occurs on a Thursday and a Friday, so it takes your employers out of an office on Thursday and Friday so they can come do military duty. Usually it's on a weekend, and most employers typically aren't open, so it's less of a factor. To get this inspection done, we had to do it on Tuesday through Friday. So that's 4 days where students at USC who are airmen at our base or your employees couldn't come to work. But it was extremely important that we get this done so that we can show that our headquarters that we are ready to fight and ready to get the mission done. Through that 4-day exercise, we simulated deploying aircraft, personnel, equipment, and cargo for a major operation overseas. And we're incredibly proud of how well everyone performed during that. So thank you again for your support for that non-standard event. Immediately after that, and by immediately I mean 2 days out of a short weekend after that, we sent 10 of our jets down to Tyndall Air Force Base in Florida for another inspection. That inspection was twofold. It was called Checker Flag. Checker Flag is a large-scale warfare simulation exercise using 4th and 5th gen aircraft all working together out in the Gulf of Mexico to figure out how we're going to win the nation's next major conflict. And in doing that, they also did a WESIP, which is a Weapon System Evaluation Program. And that is a graded exercise where we take our aircraft and our maintainers, we load live weapons, so actual air-to-air and air-to-ground munitions, and then we shoot them at live actual targets. And then we evaluate the kill chain all the way from taking a missile or a bomb out of a crate, building it up, putting it on an aircraft, maintainers checking all the avionics systems, and then pilots hitting the pickle button to employ that. And then finally, what the results are on a target to make sure that the weapons are performing as they should. All of that went phenomenally well, with the anecdotal evidence being a guy that had been there for 5 years said we were the best unit that he has ever seen. After that, there's still more. Let's see, we had the hurricane response, as the General already spoke about. For the Air Guard side, F-16s aren't going to do a lot during a hurricane response. However, we do have a lot of highly specialized personnel on the base that we're able to farm out to help. So we have air traffic controllers. They went to North Carolina and they set up a air traffic control operation on a small airfield to help facilitate a lot of the cargo going in and out of the affected area. We sent our firefighters. Firefighters set up effectively an auxiliary fire department on the opposite side of the river because their fire department, the town was split, so the other side of the town had no fire support. So they went and set that up. We sent our food services folks for supplying food. Civil engineers went and did all the civil engineering stuff, cutting down trees and fixing roads and berms and things of that nature. And then we also sent command and control folks down to the EMD downtown. And that brings us to now. The Air Force operates in what's called an AFROGEN cycle, Air Force Force Generation cycle, broken into 4 6-month windows. The first one is to prepare. That's where you're training, getting ready to go. Certify is what we are in now, and that's what we are winding up. So we finished all of our certification events, and now we've been blessed to say that we are ready for combat. And then coming into the spring, we'll enter our available phase. During the available phase is when they can call on our forces to deploy or be mobilized and support whatever the nation needs us to do. We're currently fragged to do Operation Noble Eagle, which is the same thing we did last time, and that is a home station deployment, and that's going to be odd for your employees as well. So your folks are going to be mobilized on presidential orders for 3 to 4 months, and then they're still going to be at home. So that's going to look really odd to you. I promise you they're still doing the nation's work, and it is extremely important. So Operation Noble Eagle is providing air cover for any of the national sensitive security events that may occur, and also coverage for the President of the United States. So they will be working. They will be doing very important tasks, but yes, they will still be at home. But it's a lot better than them being in the Middle East or anywhere else. So thank you for your support in getting through that. And then finally, I'll wrap it up with what we're doing for our major construction efforts. Thanks to all the congressional delegation that's assisted us with getting these marks added. We're finishing up an $8 million fire department renovation that ran into some issues, but that's now back underway, and that should be completed hopefully by October. We're finishing up a $5 million security forces facility renovation, and that's in its final stages right now. We're also about 25% of the way through building a simulator facility on McIntyre. That's a $10 million project, and that building now has steel being erected, so it actually looks like a building, and it looks like it might actually finally happen. That'll be done in the middle of '26. We're also expanding all of our taxiways so that they're wider, and it'll allow for larger cargo aircraft to come in, and that helps support our Army brothers who come in and use our airbase for lots of exercises. And then a hazardous cargo pad, which is a large parking spot where we can put dangerous things such as live weapons and also park large aircraft to support these exercises. And that's about a $10 million project for the cargo pad and about $8 million for phase one of the taxiway. We got 4 more phases to follow after that. So the airfield's constantly under construction and always trying to be improved. And then finally, on the personal side, we have Winterfest coming up on December 7th. That's where Santa Claus flies in on his F-16, taxis in, and meets the kids for the family over in the hangar. And then we just have holiday type of events for the family. That's from 11 to 1600, and I just wanted to thank the USO for providing support to that because that's super important. So overall, my message to you is the Air Guard's busy. They're doing phenomenally well. Can't do it without your employees and all of your support. So thank you.
I always talk about our awesome Guard, but I'm telling you what, when you sit here and you listen to what they're doing and where they're doing it, makes me so proud and my heart so full. And I just am amazed when the F-16s fly over. That thrills me. But now when you know they fly over and then the other things that they do, it's just incredible. So thank you, sir, for you and all your team. And I also want to give a shout out to Fort Jackson, the National Guard, and to McIntyre with Leadership Columbia. Brian and us, Major Murphy, we all organized an amazing Leadership Columbia Day. And we went to all 3 of our events, and we went to McIntyre, we went to Camp McCready, we went to Fort Jackson, and we had an amazing event just teaching all of our 60-something young business leaders about the amazing military. So tonight we have people out at our night infiltration. I tell them all the time, you are now a recruiter for the United States Army, the U.S. Air Force, and the South Carolina National Guard. And so anyway, we're slowly working. You see the numbers are going up, so thank you all for that. And, sir, I'm going to ask you, if you would, to come up and provide us with an update. We've made your job easy for you. Okay. Thank you.
Not too easy. You made all the generals and colonels go before me, so this will be interesting. So I'm Major Thelsman. I'm here on behalf of Colonel Kattendig and the Columbia Recruiting Battalion. I've been here for about a year with another 2 years to go. And this is kind of a full circle moment for me because I actually came through Columbia, South Carolina and Fort Jackson 20 years ago. So at the time, Private Thelsman, didn't understand what it took to get one person in the Army. But as a battalion executive officer, I fully understand now it takes quite a bit to get one person in. So we appreciate all the help from Fort Jackson and many of the people in this room from the local community. We truly appreciate it. We've been busy, which seems to be the theme amongst all the military here. But I believe last time my battalion commander was here, he was wrapping up the fiscal year, and we met our mission. We had over 1,900 regular Army applicants go through, and we had about 300 Army Reserve as well. So we met our mission, and that was across all ethnic backgrounds and military occupation specialties. So we did an awesome job, especially with the help from people in this room. Of that, we're proud to report 370 were just STEM personnel that came into the Army, which is important to us because we did a big STEM roadshow last year. We went through the high schools in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, and we had a huge turnout. It's very important because, it's great to let everybody know that the Army has more to offer than just some of the typical jobs that we know. There's an opportunity for everybody within the military, just like, a guy like me from Brooklyn. And here I am now as a battalion XO. For this fiscal year, we started off slow. Hurricane Helene had a devastating impact on our company in Asheville, North Carolina. But they're back strong and running. Right now, we currently have what's called a battalion surge going on. We receive 4 national assets. from the United States Recruiting Command and 1 asset from our brigade. So if you see some of those big Army semis rolling through Columbia, South Carolina, that's our guys out there in some of the schools where they're showcasing what we have to offer in some of the high schools. We started on Veterans Day in Charleston, South Carolina. We moved down to Augusta, Georgia, and now wrapping up here in Columbia, South Carolina at Blythewood High School, and today we're at Spring Valley High School. So we're busy, but the job is important because it can change lives. It definitely changed my life from Brooklyn to where I am now. So we appreciate all the support from Fort Jackson, like I said before, and from the local community. If you guys have any questions, I'll be here afterwards as well. Thank you so much.
I had never seen the Army truck until this morning on Two Notch Road. There it was. So thank you, sir. I told him that was a good sign for him coming in today. And just a note, thank you, too, for the relief and the efforts that y'all provided for Western North Carolina. My little sister lives in North Carolina, and she called me one day, and she said, Susan, your National Guardsmen are up here helping us. And I'm like, they are everywhere helping everybody. So thank you for that. She said they were very kind and nice, and they loved having them in the community. So we appreciate that. Okay, we're going to switch gears now. And, sir, I'm going to let Kevin Suedo take the lead and tell us about all the visitors he's bringing in with the CASAs these days. So, Kevin Suedo, come on up.
Well, one of the things I'll do before we go any farther is I'll pick on General Jones. I am very, very worried about that Citadel math. Does anybody else in here worry about those 0.3 funerals a day? Just saying. I'm only going to briefly touch on it, but recruiting is the most important thing that the Secretary gives us to talk about. On the positive side, the Army looks like they're going to go ahead and bring in 61,000 and have 11,000 extra at the end of the year. So we will be recruiting into next year. But it begins with one shot at a time, and I will tell you, if you have anybody that even thinking about joining the military, I'd ask you to come and talk to the XO before you leave. Talk to me. I will hook them on up because every one soldier counts. And even if it's another service, we'll help you find the other service because it's that important in national defense. I want to go ahead and harass Nancy Smith with the fair. One of the coolest things that happened, and it's not necessarily a recruiting thing, though, we had 6,000 7th and 8th graders here about 3 weeks ago, and we had active guard and reserve recruiters there, giving them an opportunity to go ahead and see what a career might be. So it was really career day. It was very well covered by every career you could think of, but at least we've got them thinking that the military could be an option for those young men and women, and we sent the best in terms of recruiters, got all kinds of great cues, and I sent a note to General Johnny Davis to go ahead and tell him about what we got from your people, which was fantastic. The last thing I'll say on the periphery, though, if you didn't see that parade downtown from the from the community, you missed something. The thing that I loved about it is I've never seen more veterans attend it, and for the first time, I think I saw WIS covering it live and got more feedback from the parade live on TV than we have in years past. If you want to know whether the veteran community was very proud of that day, it was phenomenal. I'm going to take my CASA hat off for 1 second, and I'm going to speculate. I can't do that if I'm wearing my CASA hat. But that has to do with there are a lot of people that are worried about the transition that can take place and how it's going to impact the military. And the fact of the matter is, if you take a look at a transition, it's not going to impact the Midlands significantly. On the positive side, Fort Jackson is still going to train, upwards of 50,000 soldiers. That mission doesn't go away. The Guard and Reserve have their local missions. They're preparing full-time. But the only thing that will probably be impacted at all is any impacts that come, for example, in the building side of the house with regards to continuing resolutions. And, oh, by the way, we do that every year anyway. So if you're starting to worry about that from a perspective of, everything in your little area, Suedo says there's probably not a lot to worry about. Even out there with the Marine Corps, depot out there at Parris Island, it's not a big deal. The two big things that I'll throw out right now is for years you've seen us stealing scholarships for our kids in South Carolina. Between the tag, he gets typically 6, I get 2. And somehow collectively we steal 40 for the state. The Army Reserve, which has their own pot, steals 40 for the state, and it's because other states are giving them on up. I was with the Secretary of Staff last week. It doesn't look like we're going to see the number of scholarships we've seen in the past. Those are going to be crashed rather significantly, and I will tell you that because the gateway ain't through Schwedo and it ain't through the ARA. They go and they're boarded, for example, by the Office of Strength Management Office at the at National Guard Bureau and within the 81st, and we fill to those priorities. If you want to be competitive and you want one of those scholarships, I will tell you they don't become available until March, but you ought to be talking to the officer straights managers in each of those groups today if you want to have any hope at all of getting those scholarships. Let's see. Last thing is we've talked about the night infiltration course. I know it's going to rain today. I will tell you those soldiers are going to crawl regardless. So if you signed out, don't be a weenie. Go out and watch those soldiers and do what they do so well, because it is a tremendous event. And I will tell you, if you're not on that push list and you want to be, Susan has a list, I have a list, and you will get an invitation every time to invite as many people as you want to bring out there. Because until you've seen us shoot machine guns over their heads, and until you've seen their eyes get this big, you haven't appreciated what it is to be a soldier.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that. If you've never seen turtles hatching on the beach, that's exactly what the soldiers remind me of when they're crawling through there. I mean, it is amazing. And then they start the shooting, and then you have the fast ones and the slow ones. And I'm like, what happened to the battle buddies? I thought you never left a man behind. But on that field, it's different. It's different on that field. You got to train them and learn them. I understand that now. After 13 years, I finally got it, but I still feel bad for them. So thank you for that. And also, Kevin is doing a lot. We have the United States has CASAs throughout the regions, and Kevin and our community group from down in Columbia and the CASAs, they are bringing all these important people here on a regular basis to see Fort Jackson, to see the Army Prep Program, to find out what we talk about when we say military friendly. And I'll tell you, if you think we have ambassadors going out through just our military visits, when you get the CASAs going out, they love this community, they love what we do here, and they go out and they brag on us profusely. So I thank you for that. And now I want to bring up Jason Fowler. He works with the South Carolina Department of Veterans Affairs. He's the one that helps implement a lot of the programs they were talking about earlier. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Susan is the glue of the American defense community that is Columbia. Good afternoon. On behalf of Major General Retired Todd McCaffrey, Secretary of the South Carolina Department of Veterans Affairs, greetings. Just a quick update on what we've been doing the last couple of months. South Carolina Department of Veteran Affairs joined the Military Spouse Employment Partnership, which is a DoD program which helps prioritize hiring military spouses. And I encourage any of the other businesses in the room, if you're not already a member of that program, I left some flyers in the back of the room next to the USO flyer, which is not as cool because the USO is the best. And I bet all these events that I heard about today, I'm sure there were Oreo cookies, were there not? When I was still wearing the uniform, I had to keep Katie away from our armory at least like 3 months before the PT test. So. Yeah, that's right. Also proud to announce the Veteran of the Year. We announced that last week at a ceremony over at the VA hospital at their auditorium. Very nice ceremony. The Veteran of the Year for us is Command Sergeant Major Retired Robert Clark. He's doing wonderful things in the community if you want to learn more about him. First Sergeant Alvin King was last year's recipient. He was also at the ceremony, so it was really nice. But if you check out our website, you can learn all about him, see his story. And if you know a veteran that you would like to nominate, we do Veteran of the Week, and then it rolls into Veteran of the Quarter, and then eventually we pick a Veteran of the Year out of that group. So just see our website. From our operations staff, we continue to work on Palmetto Pathfinders. And those are veterans helping other veterans transition from the military. So if you're a veteran, you're interested, please check out our website or call me. Get with us, because those people who talks to a veteran better than another veteran. You know, we kind of have our own culture, we have our own way we speak, so it's easy to relate. And sometimes that is a key, that is a bridge to helping another veteran get resources. Speaking of resources, we also have the South Carolina Veterans Coalition, which is a group of nonprofits and other people that are just trying to help veterans in the state that we vet. And you can also get information about that on our website or social media. And finally, our Veteran Services Group, I'm going to read this because I couldn't memorize this. Continue to connect service members at South Carolina's military installations who are completing their service. With this, I'm talking about the benefits delivered at discharge program, and that's veterans, anybody that is ending their time in service, whether it's just separating, ETS, retiring, any type of discharge process. This helps them to get those benefits directly at discharge, so they get out 1 month and start their benefits the next month. So we've been helping the different installations around the entire Palmetto State with that. So it's a very good thing that we're doing that, and that helps expedite the separating service members application through the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Of course, we're just a bridge. So, two other things that I would like to talk about really quickly, Susan, I promise. Somebody was talking about education, and one thing that South Carolina is doing really well, the South Carolina Commission on Higher Education has a group, and they're actually meeting today. We were all supposed to meet in person back in September, but Helene broke that up. But it's called the South Carolina Military Credit Mobility Task Force. And what they're doing is looking at a standardization, if you will, of getting credit for military service. Of course, every university does this differently, but some states are doing it really well. Tennessee, Minnesota, we're talking with them. We're working with all the different universities in the state. So that's a pretty neat thing that's going on. More to come on that. And also, just want to shout out, I talked about it in August, our South Carolina Department of Social Services is also teamed up with the Department of Defense to bring you military child care in your Neighborhood Plus program. And we continue to recruit child care facilities to participate in that program, which helps to give some money back to the service member in the long run, because if you're taking your kids to an improved facility, that money goes to the facility and helps to offset the cost of child care. So that's a really good thing we're doing. So with that, thank you very much. You want me to tell them who I'm followed by, or are you going to do that? I would love to do that. I'll be followed by Jennifer Harding of the ESGR. Not Colonel Gale? She's making you sit there? Roger that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So I do love how people prepare for PT. So you staying off the Oreos. My son stays off the Oreos. He's in the National Guard. But my favorite story is my son was preparing for his PT test and was running on the Riverwalk and found a wife. So he was stopped by this girl from Germany, and she stopped him and said, "Hey, you're good looking, you're not wearing a wedding ring, and I need a running partner." And there it began, on the Riverwalk, working on his PT. So anyway, thanks for letting me be here today. Employer support of the Guard and Reserve, many of you know we are a Department of Defense agency. We're all volunteers. I have one paid staff person, but we're all volunteers. And as everybody's talking about and rolling up statistics, I thought I would do the same thing. So this past fiscal year, we had 1,900 volunteer hours that we donated back to the state, to the National Guard and Reserves, to support employers and guardsmen and reservists. That's about a $60,000 give back in volunteer hours. We signed we presented 130 Patriot Awards to supportive employers in the state. We signed 443 statements of support with employers. We had 2,859 employment engagements. We briefed 14,719 service members on their rights and responsibilities under USERA. And we had 65 events, boss lifts, coffees, briefings with the boss. So we were pretty busy, and we've got a big year ahead of us. So we've got a really strong committee. David Gale's here with me. He's my vice chair. And I thank all of the employers for your support. It's been said many times today, without your support, we would not have a national defense because of the amount of people that serve in the reserve component. I will say one big ask, actually two asks. I am looking for a couple volunteers throughout the state, not necessarily in Columbia and Lexington, but around the state. I need some help with volunteers in Myrtle Beach and the Beaufort area. If you know someone that's retired and would like to give back, I need volunteers. That's ask number one. And ask number two is for those service members, people in leadership, please, please communicate to your service members that the Freedom Award nomination is up October 1st through December 31st. Last year we had 40 phenomenal Freedom Award nominations, and South Carolina needs to win another Freedom Award. So the more nominations, the better. So please communicate that to your soldiers. If they have supportive employers, to go and nominate them on esgr.mil. Thank you.
And with Jennifer's impressive leadership skills and the great work that she's doing on behalf of the Guard and Reserve and with all of our companies, you will certainly appreciate and join me in saying congratulations. She was the Columbia Chamber's Military Advocate of the Year. So Jennifer, thank you so much for that. We appreciate you. Always appreciate you. And now it is my pleasure to bring up Katie. Everybody's talked about the USO. I'm a volunteer and have the honor of serving on the board with Katie in the USO. And I want to tell you, if you want your heart to be blessed by reaching out to the folks who serve, come join us. Katie?
Good afternoon, everybody. I do take offense to the Oreo comments. Those do make you run faster. So I am proud to say, though, that for you gentlemen and you, ma'am, sitting here on the front row, with each of your folks, we have been there this month providing program support for you all, whether it's at the Columbia Airport, on the PT track, ma'am, at dark 30, in the field today with your soldiers, sir. We're thankful for recruiters this week, so we're visiting lots of recruiting stations with some goodies. No Oreos. And you sir, of course, Winterfest, but we did provide Oreos for the Super Drill. So like Susan said, if you all are interested in coming out over the holiday season, we are looking for volunteers to help us both at the Columbia Airport as well as at McCready Training Center. We did just renovate that facility thanks to McGuinn Homes. It's a beautiful facility. We see thousands of people through there each month. We have lots of visits, so if you're interested in sharing some time with us, we would love to have you, love to see you all. And then every Friday at the Columbia Airport, when the basic trainees graduate from Fort Jackson, we have the privilege of serving them at the Columbia Airport. We invite you and your teams. We do a donor show and share program. So we invite our employers to come out, see what we're about, be hands-on with those service members. So if you're interested in taking some time off on your Friday morning and coming out and seeing us at the airport, please let me know or let Susan know, and she'll put you in touch with us. So thank you all for your continued support.
So many opportunities. Sylvia's here. She works with USO. Tanya's here. She bakes goodies for the soldiers who stay here over the holidays. So they don't do as much PT then, do they, Colonel Hutton? He's grinning. He's grinning. They do give them a hard time. We've talked, and I'm going to just be real quick and wrap up a few things to share. We've talked about the Veterans Day Parade. It is one of the largest in the Southeast. We have over 80-something entries in that. I want to give a shout out to Daryl Hammond, who actually brought in our World War II veteran, 99 years old. We paid tribute to him on a float going down the parade, so quite the honor. WIS-TV, one of our veterans partners, highlighted him, and it's amazing. And he is from Lexington. So Daryl, thank you. Bruce Cook. If you know Bruce, he goes to Northside Baptist Church, living a good life in the military. He is still teaching Sunday school and reading his Bible and very active in the community. So God bless him. We appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. I also want to congratulate Mary Louise Reese. She is here. Yesterday, 50 years ago, she graduated from basic training at Fort Jackson. So how about a hand? And she's had a very long and successful career since that time and done a lot of great work, so we appreciate that. We talked a little bit about the University of South Carolina. You know, General Hood is a dog fan, a Georgia fan. He was very excited after this weekend. He is going to be the celebrity coin toss at the USC Military Appreciation Game this week. He said, regardless of his affiliation for Georgia, he will support Carolina while he's here, and he will do a good victory toss for us. So we appreciate that. Hats off to Candace is here, Terry from USC Vets and Veterans Military Affairs. They were voted number 7 best in colleges for veterans. So that is quite a compliment. They've done amazing work in the last 8 years since they started up that program, and that is benefiting so many of our active duty Guard and Reserves and all. I also want to say a minute, Governor McMaster yesterday actually declared December as Wreaths Across America Month, and so that is a wonderful tribute to our fallen heroes, if you will. Carol is here, Carol Davis is here. We have flyers back at the back, so if you want to know a little bit more about that, we would love to talk with you about that. And then if you want to come out on Saturday, December the 14th, Sunday's Cantata Day at church. I'm sorry. So if you can come to that too. But Wreaths Across America is December 14th at the Fort Jackson National Cemetery at 12 o'clock. It is a beautiful ceremony. Y'all please come out and join us for that. And then the moment you've all been waiting for, you've heard all this great work about everything going on. We are going to adjourn to our reception and networking a little bit so everybody can reach out. Introduce yourself, take a minute to introduce yourself, to say thank you, to find out how you might can engage with our military folks and bring them into your communities, because they know so much, they want to do so much. We're getting ready to go on a hiatus for the holidays, just the fort, not the rest of y'all, sorry about that. But anyway, a lot of opportunities, and please talk with Katie, because like I said, if you want to be blessed with everything that you hear and be able to support our service members and their families, the USO does an amazing job. I was out on the airfield the other day as some of your soldiers went down to the border and saying goodbye to them, and so it is a blessing. And when they go away, always pray for their families, because behind every good soldier is a great spouse taking care of the home front. So as this season of Thanksgiving comes up, I just know that from the bottom of my heart, I'm thankful for each and every one of you for what you do for our community, for our military. We are truly blessed in this community and in this state, and so I just hope that you go forth and that you are able to enjoy time with your families. Pray for the safety of those others, and we will look forward to seeing you in February. Make sure that you mark down all your calendars, the quarterly meetings. Today we had tough competition from Military Base Task Force and the Fort Jackson Career Fair, so I hope all of our folks that missed today are hiring our veterans that are coming out. And then 2 more things. I'm so sorry I forgot to tell you that Bill Shanahan asked me to please make sure and mention that they have the dates for next year's USO Celebrity Game over at the Blowfish Stadium, and that we're going to want everybody to come out and support our Sheriff's Department, because they want to beat Lexington County Sheriffs again this year. It's all about winning. I got to tell you, everything's about winning. So that date is going to be Saturday, May 31st, and then that's USO night, and then we also have Fort Jackson night. It's going to be Saturday, June 28th. And if you want to see thousands of soldiers eating Dippin' Dots before they melt, come on out. We've got a great time. So thank you all very much for everything that you do for the business community, for the military community. You're great partners, and we appreciate you. Thank you. And thank you, Freddy's. Thank you, Sound and Images. And the ladies are waiting with the goodies. Eat now, run later. Have a great week. Thank you, everybody.